I'm Miwa Messer. I'm the producer and host of Poured Over, but we're doing something a little different because Angie Thomas is the bomb and she has done something really, really cool. So we're going to have fun for a second and do a lightning round of questions, which is not quite what we always do on the show. But Angie, hi, hi, hi. I'm so excited to talk to you about your first middle grade book. It's called The Manifestor Prophecy. It's the start of a new series featuring a 12-year-old called Nic Blake and her cohorts. And it's all, I love this book. I think this book is so great and so charming, but why switch from YA to middle reader?
Oh, well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Um, when I was a kid, I loved reading fantasy novels. When I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, I loved them. I devoured them. But it was so rare for me to find anything that featured a character, the main character, especially
Mhm,
who looked like me, going on fantasy adventures, you know?
mhm.
Usually characters who looked like me were the background characters. They may have one line or something like that, but they never got to go on the adventures themselves. And so I feel like one of my goals as an author is to write the books that little Angie would have loved.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do something that little Angie would have loved. And I first started writing this book right when the pandemic hit. I needed an escape.
Oh,
I think we all
okay.
needed one,
Mhm,
and reality was just too tough to deal with, too tough to write about.
mhm.
So it felt like the perfect time to finally write the fantasy book I've always wanted to write.
Nic Blake and the Remarkables is the name of the series. So, would you tell us who the Remarkables are?
Well, the Remarkables, there's a wide range of people and beings who
Mhm,
could be considered remarkable.
mhm.
You have, like, you can consider vampires remarkable. You
Right.
can consider Rougarous, which are like werewolves,
Mhm,
remarkable. You can consider Azizas, which are an African version of fairies. They're remarkables. But then you also have this group of people called manifestors. They
mhm,
descend from a secret tribe in Africa, and they possess what's called the gift. It's a bit stronger than magic. It's
mhm.
powerful, and it's something that is inside of them. They're born with it. And so Nic Blake is a manifester. That's the type of remarkable she is.
Mhm.
But as the series progresses, we're going to find out that there are other kind of remarkables out there too,
Mhm.
who have so many different kinds of powers. So we got a lot of things in store.
Do you have a favorite main character?
I feel like saying that Nick is my favorite is a cop out because, that would be easy to
Mhm,
say.
mhm,
My favorite character besides Nick is JP. And the funny thing is,
mhm.
a lot of readers who had advanced copies, they just gushed to me about JP. My agent, in fact, has told me she will like drop me if I ever harm a hair on his head. So
A haint and a ghost. Not everyone knows what the difference is, and you make it very clear in the Manifestor Prophecy that they are not the same thing. Can we talk about, without giving any spoilers, what the difference is between a haint and a ghost?
yes. I was surprised that a lot of people are like, what's a haint? And that's a real Southern thing.
Mhm,
Haints and the whole culture behind blue glass bottle trees and things like that. Well, a haint
mhm,
in my world is a spirit that has not crossed over, has not gone to the light. Whereas a ghost is one that has crossed over and gone to the light, gone to judgment, heaven, whatever your belief is.
mhm,
But a haint is one that's, lingering around, and haints sometimes cause a little trouble. You
mhm,
may see or hear something in your house that could be a haint. So in Southern culture, specifically Gullah Geechee culture, and
mhm,
it's now become part of Southern culture, there's this idea that if you hang blue glass bottles outside, or if you paint your porch blue, it'll keep the haints out. The blue glass bottles will catch the haints. The blue paint on the porch will keep them out. So it was fun to be able to play on that and use that in the folklore of the book.
and Walter's a pretty great character, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah, Walter's also it was my way of addressing an unfortunate part of
Right.
our history in this
Mhm.
country. I won't spoil it, but
Nope.
I feel as if even in a book like this, we have to talk about history.
Mhm.
We have to talk about these things. So yeah, Walter was it was I think that's a character that's going to get a lot of people really talking.
I think so, and also as a haint, he has a lot of personality,
Yes.
and
Even though he doesn't talk.
he doesn't talk, but you do some amazing things with him, and yeah, we have to have these conversations, so why not have Walter in the middle of everything, being
Yes.
Walter?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
Apologies for my attempt at Swahili, but
It's
there are
all
two
right.
Swahili terms that come up in this book that we're going to translate just as a little bit of a tease because readers will find them for their own. But
Yes.
Masaidizi.
Yes.
Oh, yay, practicing. Thank you so much. And Mashindi. I'd like you to
Yes.
translate those two words, please, from the Swahili into
Yes.
English because we're just going to tease. We're not going to explain exactly what's going on, but they're fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Miss Hadizi is in the book. It's a Swahili word for helper, Swahili for
Okay.
helper. And in the Manifestor Prophecy, it is this old, ancient weapon that has gone and throughout centuries. It has helped
Mm-hmm.
people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been some famous people who've used the Miss
Mm-hmm.
Hadizi in various folk tales. So I will say, like, for instance, the story of John Henry, you will find the
Mm-hmm.
Messiah in that story. The story of High John, the Conqueror, and the Devil's Daughter, you will find it there
Mm-hmm.
too. So it was fun to find these instances where I could put it there. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
helper, and it's a huge part of the story. I won't spoil it, but it's a
No.
big, important part of the story. But I think my favorite thing about it is that it
Mm-hmm.
changes form and becomes whatever the
Mm-hmm.
person who needs it to be.
Oh, it's so good.
And then we have the Mashindi, and that's actually, it means, in Swahili, it means winner, it means chosen. And I wanted to take a look at the idea, well, the trope that we so often find
Mm-hmm.
in fantasy books of the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I say chosen one, some people are going to automatically think, oh, Harry Potter or
Mm-hmm.
Percy Jackson, all of these different books where we find young people who
Yeah.
are chosen to fulfill some prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a similar instance in the Manifestor Prophecy, but they don't call it the chosen one. They call
Mm-hmm.
it the Mashindi. So there's a whole story behind it in the book. And I think I may surprise people with the twists and turns that I took with this. So I won't spoil
Mm-hmm.
it.
But it's excellent. I will say all of the twists and all of the turns are very, very excellent. Do you
Thank
have a
you.
favorite moment from the Manifestor Prophecy?
There is a moment where Nick is reunited with someone who means a lot to her,
Mm-hmm.
who she's been on her adventure to help. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a line where she describes that being in this person's arms is like being in a home. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's better than any home she's ever had.
Yep.
But actually, also the other moment would be where she's reunited with another person that she didn't know she needed. Those are
Mm-hmm.
my two favorites. Those reunions in the book. I won't spoil them, but those two reunions at the beginning, towards the beginning of the book, and
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the book, those are my two favorites.
They're super satisfying. They're super
Thank
satisfying.
you.
What was the biggest surprise for you while you were writing the new book, though? Something had to have surprised you. These characters are really great.
Yeah, I think what surprised me was, besides how much fun I had,
Mm-hmm.
it was how much of the culture and the folklore that I know
Mm-hmm.
could, be used in a new way, and still pay homage to those stories, but give them a twist. You
Mm-hmm.
know, whenever you're talking about a fantasy book, and you're in a way, you're creating something from nothing. You're creating a whole world, but you also want to make sure you respect the rules that have already been set. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to respect the rules of the folklore, of African American folklore, that have already been set. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
respect the work that's already been done and the stories that have already been done, and being able to discover that there are so many more folk tales out there that I didn't even get to cover in this book. But there's so many more out there that I can, use in future books. That
Mm-hmm.
was amazing to me. There were so many stories I didn't even know about. So I look forward to introducing my readers to them as the series continues.
Oh, I can't wait. And you sort of suggested this when you talked about how much fun you had writing this book, but is there someone or something that was the most fun to write in this book?
Mm, I think the most fun thing to write were the battles, the
Yeah.
different battles,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one, I know one particular scene that was funny is one that takes place in the woods at a certain camp. I will not spoil
Oh, yes.
it.
I know exactly what you're referring to, and I
But
cannot wait for readers to experience it because it is wild. It is
yes,
wild and it
yeah,
is swampy. It is swampy.
Yes, yes. And I was able to take a certain historic term for a group of people that has been used for years, for decades, a group of people who have terrorized people like me. And I was able to take that term and use it and in a way make fun of a
Mm-hmm.
certain group of people. So I look forward to seeing the reactions to that because that was honestly, and like whenever I've had friends who've read the book, that's one of the first things they point out to me, like, you did not do that. And I'm like, yeah, I did.
What do you love most about Jackson, Mississippi?
I love that Jackson is family. Jackson is home.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Jackson is one of those cities. It's a city, but there are like, I wouldn't even say 6 degrees. I'd say there are 3 degrees of separation between everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I go in the grocery store in Jackson and I strike up a conversation with someone, within a few minutes, we're going to realize we either know the same people or we're related
Mm-hmm.
somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's home, and despite the challenges that the city faces with the water crisis
Mm-hmm.
and crime and all these different things, there's still so much love there.
Right.
There's still so many people who are fighting there, and there's so much that people don't know about that city. And so to be able to place a book there and have a fantasy book that's also set there, I hope that it reminds the kids that even with the struggles that the city faces, there's still magic around them. I hope it reminds them of that. So I look forward to seeing readers' reactions to Jackson, whether they're from Jackson or have never been to Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I also look forward to hopefully showing a little bit more of the city as the series progresses.
So, which do you love more, writing or rewriting?
I love rewriting.
Yeah.
I love editing. I love
Mm-hmm.
revising. Drafting, the first draft is always the hardest thing to do because you're pulling something out of midair, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can give me something to work with, I have the most fun there. I like getting notes back from my editor,
Mm-hmm.
even though I may take a day before I read them to
Right.
brace myself emotionally. I still like getting notes. I still like the revision process the most. So I'm currently like drafting the second book, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait until I'm revising.
That's so exciting. Okay, pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Okay.
only reason I say that is because I like that you could put syrup in the little squares and you
Mm-hmm.
get like a pocket of joy. Mhm.
Favorite NBA team?
The New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Sometimes it feels like a very toxic relationship, but I'm hanging in there. I
Okay.
love my Pelicans.
Favorite WNBA team? Because also
Ooh.
in the
Mhm.
book.
I grew up a Los Angeles Sparks fan,
Mm-hmm.
huge Sparks fan. And I still want to hang in there with the Sparks, even though it's kind of rough right now. But I'm really enjoying the Las Vegas Aces.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in Atlanta now, so I plan to go to
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta Dream games. So,
Nice.
but I try to support the league as a whole because they need it.
If you could have only one, though, dragon or hellhound?
I would have to go with dragon because that's also a form of transportation.
I absolutely respect that choice. Okay, which is worse, traffic in Atlanta or traffic in Uhuru?
I would definitely say Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
because in Uhuru you can at least they have flying cars. You can
Mm-hmm.
at least maybe get away, fly away from it a little bit if you want. It's hard to sometimes find a shortcut in Atlanta, and then when you find the shortcut, 100 other people found it as well. So Atlanta traffic is worse.
When do we get the next book in the Nic Blake and the
Ooh.
Remarkable series? And do we have a title, maybe, kind of, sort of?
We have two potential titles.
Okay.
I will say that hopefully the next book comes out next April. That's the
Fabulous.
goal. So I'm super excited about it. There's some twists and turns in this one that I also know my readers won't be expecting. I'm having a blast
Mm-hmm.
doing it. And I think that it will really flip things upside down once again.
Oh, I'm so, so excited for readers to meet Nic Blake and JP and yeah, the adults and the rest of the
Yes.
Remarkables. There are a lot of really great characters. And, if you do have middle grade readers at home, yes, they want this book. And you know what? You might actually want to sit down and read it with them because it's actually fun for adults too. I mean,
Yeah.
my days as a 12-year-old are a little behind me, but this was a really, really, really fun read. Angie Thomas, thank you so much. Nic Blake and the Remarkables, the first volume is out. It's called The Manifestor Prophecy. And oh, I cannot wait for volume 2.
Thank you.